Eagle Nation, I have a question for you. Do you believe in Nick Sirianni? Do you think what happened at the end of last season is reparable and he can come back and get this team to bounce back and move forward? Because right now, it seems like he is starting to delegate, and we are going to react to some reports today that talk about what has been going on inside, right, with Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni, and even what Jalen Hurts has been doing to kind of get integrated into this offense and this locker room as the leader. So we'll talk about it all, but I think really the main question stems again is like, can the Eagles bounce back? I have a hot take that if the Eagles do not start off strong, if they don't look like the team we expect them to look like, I think Nick Sirianni may get fired. I mean, it's not crazy to think if this team is not performing, because it looks like they quit on him last year. He's got a lot to do here, a lot of work, but he did bring in good coordinators. And I honestly think Kellen Moore could end up becoming the head coach of this team. Maybe it's a crazy take out there, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, I want to go to a report from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. He says, quote, "I'm told the Eagles have spent a lot of time this offseason taking the old offense, Nick Sirianni's system last year that Jalen Hurts is used to, mixing it with Kellen Moore's principles, putting it all in a pot with some gumbo, and seeing what works and what Jalen Hurts is comfortable with. I'm told Hurts has done a good job this offseason of being vocal and taking ownership of the plays he likes, the plays he doesn't." Now, that speaks a lot of volumes for Jalen Hurts. The organization obviously wants him to be more of a vocal leader. There's been some crazy things put out recently on a radio about, they could Wentz him this season and he could be gone. I think that's absolute craziness, given that he took this team to the Super Bowl in his second year as a starter. But at the end of the day, it is Philadelphia, and a lot of things will be put out there. But what I don't question is his leadership. I've seen him go out there and try to rile up the guys and be a leader. Even if it's not the way people want it to be, he still seems like he's doing what he needs to do. The one question in the press conference a couple weeks ago was completely overblown, and it was literally one answer, and he did follow it up by giving Sirianni credit, even though nobody wants to talk about it. But when it comes to this offense, I do think Jalen needs to be more vocal, saying, yes, this is how we need to run things. This is what I'm comfortable with, because many times last season, once you took Steichen out of the equation and it was Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson's offense, it was like nobody had answers. Nobody had context clues. Nobody had anything to kind of piece together and figure out, like, what's going on here? Who is preaching this offense? Who is running things here? And the accountability factor really was not there, right? We know a lot of it fell on Nick Sirianni. He did take accountability, but how much of it was him? Does Nick Sirianni understand the structure of an offense? Because in his rookie year, he literally handed over play calling duties. He could not do it. Then Shane Steichen helps evolve this offense. They go to the Super Bowl. He leaves, and then it goes back to the same old thing. So how much power is Nick Sirianni going to give Jalen Hurts, give Kellen Moore, etc.? Now, another rumor came out from Jeremy Fowler, pretty much in this report, that Nick Sirianni is essentially putting a large amount of trust in Kellen Moore. Like, he's handing over a lot of these duties, saying, you're going to take over this, you're going to run it, I'm going to step back, control the overall operations of the team. Maybe he did that last year with Brian Johnson. It inevitably failed, and it resulted in disappointment and disaster. Can Kellen Moore do that? I think he's a brilliant offensive mind. I think he's shown a lot of potential with some of the teams he's been on, but he still has a lot to prove as well. And he's more of a younger hire, which I think, again, could result down the line him becoming a head coach. But I want to react to this article and talk about Jalen Hurts, Kellen Moore, and Nick Sirianni from Dork Sam over on Bleacher Report. A lot of interesting nuggets in here. After a slightly down year in 23 by his standards, Jalen Hurts is reportedly embracing the changes the team implemented on offense this offseason. And again, 95% of it is new. Hurts has worked closely with new Eagles coordinator Kellen Moore to determine the best course that would help the team achieve success, and the signal caller has not been shy about letting his voice be heard. Yeah, that is what we want. We want you to be that guy, Jalen. We paid you to be that guy. We want you to take us to the promised land. This is how you do it. Don't sit back and just, go through the flow and the motions. Like, be that vocal leader, because now this is your offense. Quote, I'm told the Eagles have spent a lot of time this offseason taking the old offense, Nick Sirianni's system that Jalen Hurts is used to, mixing it with Kellen Moore's principles, which we pretty much read already. I'm told Hurts has done a good job this offseason of being vocal and taking ownership of the plays he likes and doesn't. Hurts threw for career highs of 38, 58 yards and 23 touchdowns in 23, but he also threw a career high 15 interceptions. Eagles started 10-1, finished at 11-6, and were eliminated in the wild card round. The disappointing finish helped Philly reevaluate how it operates on both sides. Fowler noted that the addition of Moore has taken some pressure off of Sirianni while giving him a chance to focus on the team as a whole. Quote, Nick Sirianni really trusted the process. Shout out to the little Sixers slogan there. Trusted his new veteran play caller to handle a lot of things. Even though he's an offensive-minded head coach, he's not micromanaging everything. They are getting to work on it. How much of the offense are we going to see from Nick Sirianni? How much are we going to see from Kellen Moore? Is Nick going to be one of those coaches that doesn't have any involvement in play calling, that doesn't have any involvement in offensive structure? It's different on every team, so it's hard to know. But it feels like with this hire, it was very intentional. Like, we're going to get a guy who knows the X's and O's, who can move guys around, who's not going to leave us with a stale offense and then result back in nobody having any answers or solutions mid-season on how to fix it. Like I said, Nick Sirianni, to me, the biggest question is, can he get that locker room to kind of galvanize and come together and say, we got to bounce back? Because they quit on him last season, and usually it's tough to come back from that. But given that you were 1 year removed from a Super Bowl appearance, it is very odd. So that's really what we have. Jalen stepping up, being more of a vocal leader. Nick Sirianni has the most pressure for sure. And Kellen Moore, it's going to be interesting to see how he uses these weapons. If you can't get this offense to produce, given that everybody's healthy, of course, because that's a big factor, but if you can't get them, to come out and score touchdowns on opening drives, and you can't, go into halftime with 16, 19, 23 points some games, like, it can't be like it was last year. It feels like the Eagles always hit a high, and then a couple years later, they get to a point where they have no identity at all. That cannot happen. Coordinators are very, very important, as we saw with Shane Steichen versus Brian Johnson. Kellen Moore needs to come in here and establish an identity from day one. That sounds like that is what they are doing, but there does remain some questions about Nick Sirianni and his leadership and how they can really mesh this thing together. But I do think it's interesting that now it seems like Kellen Moore is more so taking charge on the offense. What do you make of these comments? What do you think about the offense? Who do you want to see in charge going forward? Give me your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody tapping in. Also, real quick, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor of today's video. It is the great BetMGM. Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using our code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you do not win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to parlays, live bets, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. So go ahead and find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Sign up today with the bonus code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you do not win your first bet. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions.